Hello, good evening, everyone. You're welcome. Hope you're having a fruitful weekend and a tomato weekend as well. You're welcome.
All is well.
Uh,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Good evening, sirs. Good evening, Mass.
Welcome on
Good
board, sir.
everyone.
Good evening. You're
What a
welcome, Mr. Lou.
privilege, what a privilege, what a privilege. Wow. Slow and steady, they say, wins the race. And a few weeks ago, we started this course, and it's been like we've known each other for ages, going along in this walk of faith. Let me put it that way, because we don't know each other from Adam, but yet we've walked on trust and we have gone thus far. I must sincerely appreciate our visionary, Madam Esther. Thank you so much for this privilege that we've had. Thank you for the community and for sticking despite all distractions. I want to appreciate everyone that has been on board since day one. Like it's been said over and over, we still have a long way to go together, because together everyone achieves more. And just like we've said, we are here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. We're here to learn from one another. We're here to unlearn whatever it is we've learned as a practice that may be incorrect. Such example were those who would apply chemical fertilizers and incorporate it into their nursery bed, thinking that will make their seeds germinate faster. It was just a waste of time and money. We are here also to relearn. Some of us know some critical things. Some people know, yes, if I use neem leaves, I know they say it works against insects, but how do I use it? What quantity do I use? Some may not know. Some may even go to where they are burning stuffs with firewood or cooking with firewood, and then you take the charcoal. We all know charcoal is good, but there are other things charcoal does to the soil as an activator. So we're here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And today, by the grace of God, we will be bringing the Tomato Masterclass to a close. However, it doesn't mean we would not be able to ask questions as we go along with our production cycle. We are free to reach out and ask questions. We are free to reach out to compare notes. We are free to reach out. Um, and then we will take a break, and then we will continue. We will commence with the Pepper Masterclass. And I trust that we're going to have a good time and have a bumper harvest using our quality seeds. This evening, like we said yesterday, will be straight into the agronomic timetable and the budget, putting costs to those items that were listed yesterday. And so I'm going to send I'm going to send the document to the convener, and then I believe it will be dropped in our dashboards. So I'll just run through it today, and then you can go through it by the time we're done, and you can always come up if you have any queries or comments along with it. So some of these things we have done while we were taking the master class, but this is now like a summary of it. And I began by saying this is the agronomic timetable for our tomato farm production. And then I said, variety introduction. I'm reading from what I prepared for it, so I'll just run through it. Um, the variety that has been given out is Otitum 1. And Otitum 1 is a pure line. It's indeterminate. And the fruit shape is rounded. The color on maturity is red. The immature color is green. And it has a potential yield of 55 tons per hectare. It has a good shelf life of 10 days after harvest, 10 to 15 days after harvest. And now we proceed to why seed selection is important in your organic tomato production. You don't want a seed that by the time you plant it, for example, Otitum 3 has a pink color. Someone has a normal tomato red color. And I remember when we had some farmers work on Otitum 3, and then we were saying, oh, perhaps the pink color will make them say, oh, this is not GMO. But alas, by the time they used it in soups, we started having a larger demand than we expected because the farmers accepted it. So in choosing your variety, one important thing you must notice at the end of the day, is the fruit acceptable by the consumers? That's why variety selection is highly important in this. So also for your site selection, um, you must select a site where you don't have the field too acidic or too alkaline. You want to have a neutral pH range of field, and this is where soil testing comes in. Not many people test their soil, but one of the reasons why diseases fester on fields is because the level of pH is directly related with disease incidence. So if it is tilted to the alkaline side or it's tilted to the acidic side, then you'll be creating an imbalance that will favor the occurrence of disease and infestation of pests. So we usually appeal that do your best to test your soil. Now we are talking about organic production. Organic production. Adequate buffer zone must be provided if you already have an existing field that you are carrying out conventional farming on. So you need a distance of at least 7 meters. So 7 to 10 meters from your non-organic fields to prevent drift of chemical materials from your non-organic field to your organic fields. There is the National Organic Agriculture Project in Nigeria, OAPTIN. So as time goes on, they may decide to come certify your fields, because if you decide you want to start exporting from your organic fields, there are certain certificates that you would need to get. And so you must know that you need a buffer zone from your organic field to your non-organic field. The next will be determining your nursery bed. And this has been done in this way because you must know where you want to transplant your seeds before you even start preparing your nursery. Once you start your nursery, your field preparation must begin also, as I'm going to repeat later on. And that's why we have talked about site selection before the nursery bed preparation. We are taking Welcome to those who have just joined. We are taking the agronomic timetable, and I'm taking it right from site selection, at the end of which we will go to the economics of it, putting prices to the items that we said yesterday. Your nursery bed preparation, prepare your seed bed just like we said, 20 cm to 30 cm height to conveniently, depending on the size you want to do. Remember to sterilize your soil to reduce damping of diseases and insect pest damage. Pulverize and ensure you mix your soil with well decomposed animal manure or decomposed plant residue. And this is why we have been emphasizing the need for us to do our compost. Let us do our compost. Get your materials. The richer, the more the materials you had, the richer your compost. Your plantain peels, yam peels, eggshells, potato peels, um, fruit waste, pawpaw, pineapple, watermelon. Gather all these things. You go to the market, go with an extra bag, get these materials, get your container. You can get a bucket. And as you have been taught earlier in the trainings, start preparing your compost. You can also do it on the field, as the videos have been placed on our dashboard and on the platforms. So once you sow your seeds, cover your seeds with either palm fronds or banana leaves, as explained yesterday. And like we've said, seeds will germinate. They start germinating from 3 days. Max by 7 days, all your seeds would have germinated. And like Madam Chinwe was saying yesterday, hers were like 10 days. And she told us she didn't bury them. And my answer to that, life is not a constant, you know. Yes, we have said seeds will germinate 3 to 7 days, but then anything could have happened, and yet those seeds have germinated. So remember, after sowing your seeds, you cover lightly with fine soil. Um, in the note here, I put cover thinly and I made it bold with fine soil so that we don't also just bury it after we have sown our seeds. And then you can apply neem soap spray um, maybe at 4 days after, once they have emerged and you've seen the leaves. This is to protect the seedling from biting and sucking pests like your whitefly, thrips, grasshopper. Also, adding your seedling by reducing the water you use in watering 3 to 4 days before transplanting. So if you intend to transplant, say next week, Wednesday, starting today, tomorrow, you reduce the amount of water that is being given to the seedlings. And then 12 hours before transplanting, you thoroughly water the seedlings and then you can go transplant. Seedlings are ready for transplanting 3 to 4 weeks after sowing. Remember, after you have treated you have sterilized your soil, you can incorporate compost. And then if you don't have compost, once your seeds have emerged, after 7 days, you can apply the biofertilizer, the liquid fertilizer, you can apply it on the soil and on the leaves. So the uptake of nutrients will sustain it till you transplant. Then we come to land clearing. Your land area must be cleared at least 4 weeks before transplanting. 4 weeks before transplanting, your land must be cleared and other operations you need to begin. And that's why I said your site selection must be done before you begin your nursery. Your site selection must be done before you begin your nursery. And so if you have a large field, of course, it's going to be tree stumping, you're plowing, harrowing, bedding. And if it's in your compound, then it's manual clearing and bedding that is necessary. But bedding is highly, highly necessary. And like I said yesterday, ridging is necessary. This is to allow for easy drainage, which will prevent too much water or water logging, which can easily cause disease to your plants. And then we said ensure you rotate with non-solanaceous crops like your pulses and legumes. This will enrich the nitrogen status of your soil. I had a practical example of this just last week. Um, this man has 20 acres of land somewhere within Abeokuta, and he's been doing pepper. And then this field is being ravaged. And after all said and done, the recommendation was made. You need to engage in crop rotation, plant soya beans or cowpea or groundnut. This will enrich your soil. You know, oh, I don't need any of these things. What do I want to use groundnut for? What do I want to use cowpea for? You may not need it, but your soil needs it. And just like in any business where you take risks, some decisions, what you want to do, you may not need them. Like I said during one of the classes, you can plant maize and at 4 weeks, you cut off everything and you leave the foliage to rot on your field. It will re-enrich the nitrogen status of that soil and increase also part of the phosphorus status of the soil. So during land preparation is the best time for you to incorporate your well decomposed or cured farmyard manure or the compost also that you have. You can incorporate it during your land preparation. Now, like we said earlier, transplanting is done 3 to 4 weeks, but it depends on the vigor of the seedling. You can determine the figure of the seedling. You look at the stem. Hope it is not geliosimi, tiny stem. You must ensure that the stem is such that it's thick, and then the leaves, you have at least 4 to 5 leaves on your seedling. Then when you want to transplant, you first transplant the most vigorous seedlings. You first transplant the most vigorous seedlings. Now, because we're doing organic cultivation, a wider spacing of 100 cm by 50 cm is recommended. However, um, population is critical when it comes to commercial farming. You can also use 50 cm by 50 cm. But the essence of the wider spacing is to ensure for better aeration and minimize rapid spread of foliar diseases should they occur. For irrigation, I've always said it, tomato is most sensitive to water deficit immediately after transplanting. And this is because of transplanting shock. They have moved from one environment to another environment. So immediately after you transplant, by the time flowering begins, what Yorubas will say, otin tono, and then during fruit development, you must ensure that you time your watering. So irrigate your field 3 to 4 days interval. And that's if it's not too sunny. If you look at the intensity of the sun the past 2 weeks, you will say you cannot wait 3 days before you irrigate. You can irrigate every other day. So these guidelines or this timetable, as it were, is not the law of merits and passes. It's something that your own observation, that's why it's learn, unlearn, and relearn. Your own observation matters also. You adapt it to what suits your field. There are places where location A, I've been on a field in Iwo in Osun State. We were on one part of the field and it was very sunny. And on the other part, because of a big tree there, it shaded the place. So they were still giving the plants the same quantity of water. So the one that was under a shade was waterlogged because they didn't consider the fact that that shade was there and was good for the plant. So you don't just follow it because the facilitator has said irrigate every other day or every other tree to do. No, you can do next time you're planting. It depends on your spacing also. Okay, thank you. It depends on the spacing you use because if you're using 50 cm by 50 cm, you can't do any mixed cropping in there. It's just going to, for container planting, no, for container, the size of container it may just only take one or two plants. So you just put it at the ends of the plant to ensure that the roots have enough space to grow. It may even just be one plant alone that one container will take. For the buckets, for one of the pictures, if you look down, for one of the pictures, you'll find out you don't even need any spacing dimension. If you're doing container planting, you don't need it. Just place your buckets. That's enough spacing for it. Just place your buckets down or your pots down or your container down. That's enough spacing for it. And so if you're on the field, if you're using pots, container, sack, of course, hand watering is your best bet. So you water using watering can. And like I said, when watering, you must ensure that the water drops do not wash away the soil from the plant, thereby exposing the roots of the plant. That I've seen occur because people just want to water and go. You must give these guys, sorry, I call plants guys. You must give these guys tender loving care because it's garbage in, garbage out. The amount of care you give them, every other ceteris paribus, all other things being equal, you're going to get good quality yield from them. If you're using a field, you have the sprinkler method, you have the drip irrigation method. And like I said also when we first talked about this, drip irrigation is the most effective system. If you decide to use overhead sprinklers on your field, I must say studies and experience have shown that it encourages spread of disease faster. So drip irrigation is the best bet. Staking is best started 2 weeks after you transplant. Ensure your staking materials are already set so that by the time it's not when flowering starts, you start exposing the plants to stress again. You want to reduce stress on the plants once those reproductive activities have started in terms of the flowers coming out, the fruits coming out. And of course, we all know the advantages of staking. It keeps the fruit and foliage off the ground. It increases the fruit yield and size. It reduces fruit rot. And you now even have aeration is easier among your plants. Oh, yes, you can. So you can do individual plant staking. You can do, you can then have one on one end to another end, and then you um, tie an iron rope from one end to the other end, and then you now train the plants up to each of those rope that you have done. So you can use a rope for your staking also. Weeding. This is very, very important. You must eliminate every competition from your tomato plant. Your tomato wants to enjoy a lovely lifespan. It doesn't take more than 2 to 4 months. So any competition would affect the lifespan that it is set to complete, because your weeds will compete for everything along with your tomato. So, and weeds serve as alternate host for pests and for diseases. So you don't want anything on it. Weeding can be done by the third week after transplanting. Whether you are doing pot, sack farming, container farming, one way or another, weeds will come up. Remove your weeds. And then by the time you're doing your second weeding, remember you would have been watering and watering and watering. You do what we call earthing up. Earthing up is a process of packing soil to cover the stem of the plant that connects with the soil so that the roots are not exposed. So you can you can also use mulches for this, or you can use plastic mulch. And by the time we get to the naira and kobo, we'll see how much plastic mulch costs. So plastic mulch is very useful because it prevents weed growth. You have nothing to expend on weeding, whether it's labor or anything. It easily controls your weed. However, plastic mulch, if it's going to be incorporated, must be installed once your land preparation is completed. Um, this is a picture of plastic mulch. Some of us may have seen it, some of us may not have seen it. And like we always say, please always do some little experiments on your field. If you see from the picture right here, some beds have plastic mulch, some don't have plastic mulch. They come with different sizes. Some come at 1.5 meters, some come at 2 meters. So depending on the size you have, depending on the kind of bed that you prepare for it. For those who have just joined, we are talking of the agronomic timetable of our tomato production. And we have said the seed that has been sent around to each and every one of us is the Otitom 1 variety from the National Horticultural Research Institute, NIOT, which was developed as an improved variety to combat the low number of fruits per plant and the firmness. Now, we have just talked about weeding, and of course, you don't talk about weeding without following up with pest and disease control. And this is where I will be throwing it back to each and every one of us. The first, second, third master classes dealt a lot about this, and I would encourage us to please go back to those classes and how you can prepare your biopesticide, various methods that were given to us, because management of pest and disease starts with getting those materials. Remember, in organic farming, the goal is preventive, not curative. Yes, you have curative, but the goal is preventive. So as much things as you put in place is what will determine the success of this endeavor. First, manage your soil teeth, which is your land preparation, your soil moisture. Ensure you don't have too much water on your plant. And of course, your nutrient status, which is why we've said incorporate your compost into your soil by the time you're doing it. And you have gotten the biofertilizer, you have gotten the biopesticide. After you transplant, starting from the third week, please spray your biopesticide on a weekly basis. The third week, the fourth week, the fifth week, the sixth week. On the label of the bottle is the protocol for spraying the biopesticide. I'm going to add this. If peradventure you have foliar diseases, you can refer back to the lecture on pest and disease management. We said this, but I'm going to repeat it here again. We have biocontrol agents that you can use at an interval of 10 days. Trichoderma azanium, you can have 10 grams in 10 liter of water, in a liter of water, and then you apply to your plants. Bacillus, you can have 2 grams. This will be given on our dashboard. It will be sent to the facilitator and then shared for each and every one of us. So Bacillus subtilis, you can add 2 grams per liter of water and then apply to your plants. You can do this 3 to 4 times at an interval of 10 days. If you have foliar diseases like leaf spots, like powdery mildew, like fruit rot, you can apply any of this. But if you are able to ensure your environment is clean, we should have little or no diseases on our field. But peradventure you have, please, you can use any of these methods. And like I showed us earlier, June 15 this year, someone planted on the Tom 1, and by August 23, harvesting has started. And that's a period of 8 weeks. So we are saying, starting from the 8th week, your fruits would have matured, and then you begin your harvest once they turn color. Harvesting is best done early in the morning or late in the afternoon. The same thing with watering. Watering is best done early in the morning or late in the afternoon. You harvest your fruits when most of them are half ripened or they have at what we call the breaker stage. The breaker stage is they are not green, they are not red, but the color is turning. You can harvest at that period. When you harvest at that period, you are going to ensure firmness and prevent damage during transportation if you are doing a large hectareage. But if you are doing it for your home use, you just harvest, put in a place that is not, the humidity is not too high, which will facilitate quick ripening of it. So you can harvest every 5 days. You can harvest every 5 days, and under good crop management, the tomato crop can be on the field for 17 weeks. But like I will say, I like to manage expectation. I like a lot to manage expectation. You can keep harvesting fully 10 times, 8 to 10 times from your first harvest. You can keep harvesting 8 to 10 times from your first harvest. So that's about the agronomic timetable for our tomato. So let's go to Naira and Kobo. We want to do just one plot, a plot of land for tomato. And yesterday we mentioned from land acquisition, land clearing, ridge making, seed tray, topsoil, and all that, and all that. Ah, yeah, let me send this also. How did I capture it? Okay. For those who don't know, I got this. I got this on. Is big business. You can do your compost and begin to sell. So that's a value chain in this. So before I go into this budget thing, I was scrolling through Instagram and then I just saw this. I saw this reel. You know, this is a house that you can see the lawn from the picture. And then they bought bags of topsoil. Those are bags of topsoil, and they added. They used those carved stones as a hedge because they want to plant round their home. So this is an area that if you even say, okay, I don't have I don't even want to plant tomato, I don't even want to do anything. My own business, and this is where value chain comes in. This is an advantage for being in this masterclass. Your own value chain, you can start preparing compost. Once you prepare it, you can start bagging them. You don't even, these bags are in 40, 50 kg bags. You can do yours in 5 kg bags, 10 kg bags, and then you begin to sell. There are people who want to plant in buckets. So we are exposing ourselves to various ways by which we can make income to improve our livelihood and end food insecurity in our homes, in our communities, and in Nigeria as a whole. So please, I repeat, this is one way by which an individual can make some good money. All right, we continue. So land, if you have a land, we talked about yesterday renting of land. Let's assume 50,000 to rent a plot of land. I hope someone will be putting down this for yourself. So you rent a plot of land for 50,000 for the year. Remember, we are saying just one plot of land, just one plot of land. So you rent the plot of land for 50,000 naira. Your nursery trays, growth media, you purchase those for 30,000 naira. That makes 80,000 naira. If you go to the local government, I don't know where you are, but there are places where they have lands available for rent. You have what do they call these places? They are farming areas. They are farming estates. It's just unfortunately in Nigeria, especially here in Southwest, those farming areas have been turned to elite estates. It's unfortunate, but there are places. And then if you go to the local government and you make inquiries, there are places. There are places where you can rent land. And there are some places if you just go there and you see open land and you ask around, they will tell you, oh, they are giving this place for rent at so amount. Just go to the office or you go to any ADP close to you. I know we might think some of these ADP offices are dead, but for some of these things, they come alive. And I know we had some meetings recently, and they are also being gingered to do the work they are meant to do. So, land 50,000, your seed, your nursery tray, cocoa pit 30,000, composting, maybe you go to the park, you go to the market to purchase all that. Mulch film, a 500 meter 40 micron mulch film ranges between 140 to 165K. A 2 meter by 300 meter mulch film cost about 110, 120K. So if you say you want to use a plastic mulch film, you spend 100K. Let's just go down. And then of course, for your organic fertilizer, you can do it yourself or you can use labor to produce it. So if we include your compost preparation in labor cost, what are the things that would form our labor cost? The ridge formation, the weeding, incorporation of the compost, or installing mulch film if you want to use that. I like let me get a practical experience here. So who has used labor for their farm? Who has used labor for their farm? How much did they collect for land preparation? If you have ever used labor for your farm, or you have been labor on the farm for your by your own self, anybody? 5,000 per day. Okay. So if you're going to use 5,000 per day for a plot of land, how many days do you think will be used 8K per day? Awesome. For a plot of land, how many days do you think they will be used to prepare a plot of land? I like these differences. Two man days. So if we call it 2 man days. So you can use one person for 2 days or two persons for 1 day. So we refer to it as 2 man days. So the man days for one plot of land, cleared per plot, 15K. And you give them Gary. Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh my God. Gary with water or Gary without water? Or they'll use it to make a bar. Oh my, this is great. I experienced this in Igbora. You give them the money. Wow. So it's more than 15K then. Sir Gabriel Raphael. It's more than 15K. We are going to give them the money for Gary. And this is why we are doing this economics. There are so many, that's why we are costing even the compost preparation. Because oftentimes we don't consider certain costs. We just take them off. Gathering those, that's why I put 30K there. Because gathering those compost, it takes time. You're moving. If you're not going by public transport, you're going by your vehicle. You're buying fuel into the vehicle. So these are costs that we overlook in this venture. So we have 5K, we have 8K, we have 15K. We're going to look at the average of this. This is 20, 28, 28 divided by 3. That's 9,000. So you have an average of 9,000 per person and you have 2 man days. And that's just for land preparation. You still have other activities like weeding, but we are going to be installing plastic mulch. Then we are taking out the cost of weeding. So let's assume we are introducing plastic mulch. We are installing plastic mulch. So let's say the cost of installing it at 3,000. So 9 plus 3, that's 12,000 times 2 man days. That's 24,000. And then the cost of seed. for one plot of land? So let me see who remembers from all that we have learned. What quantity of seed will you need for one plot of land? Let's see who remembers. Yes, that's part of the labor cost. Oh, it's true. We are not yet done. No. We've only we've only costed for land preparation. Land preparation, mud, installing the mulch, ridging. Yes, cost of ridging one plot. If it has trees, they'll ask you to pay for stumping. Let's let's assume there is no need for stumping. So for a plot, they may demand for. I know I paid for one plot. They asked for 12,000. In Remo, they asked for 12,000 for a plot to reach a plot of land. I don't know about other areas. So added to the 24K, that's 12,000 for two people. That's 48,000. Remember, we have not talked about transplanting. So needing 30 grams of seed will be how much? If we say 50 grams of seed, that's at 15,000 naira. So what else are we forgetting to cost from all this so far? We've costed for the rent of one plot, 50,000 for a single season, seed at 15,000, plastic mulch at 100,000, the composting and all for 30,000, labor cost at 48,000. Even the potting bags, if you want to use potting bags, I think they sell a pack of 100 at 1.5. Watering, fuel, irrigation costs. Irrigation sets for one plot, your drip kits, your drip installation. Let's take out the need you are just going to install, but let's assume the water source already exists. Whether it is well or bowl, everything about the water source is in existence. So you have your drip kits and all that. For one plot, that will cost you about 200,000. Irrigation kits will cost you about 200,000. But if you want to use your watering can, you will just be using your watering can to water the whole one plot. And then you will have people who will be watering for you. Let's assume you have 5 watering cans. A good and solid watering can now is about 8 to 12,000. That would be 60,000. Watering can for irrigation. If you want to set up irrigation system, that's 200,000 for a plot of land. Liquid fertilizer, liquid pesticide. Yes, we'll still come back to that because those ones will be watering, liquid fertilizer, liquid pesticide. If that goes, anything organic is usually expensive. Let's be honest with ourselves. So if 1 liter sells for 2,000 and you need about 5 liters, I said 5 watering cans, yes, at 12,000 per one. Especially those plastic ones. There are iron ones, but yes, let me quickly say this now, the mulching film. Those are I'm about to say for the watering can. There are those iron ones that you can buy them, but from experience, by the time you start using them, you will find out the neck from where the water will come out. Usually, it starts leaking. It starts leaking, or the base. By the time you fetch water into it, the water starts leaking also. Also, when you buy plastic ones, at your point of purchase, ensure you test it. Um, I had someone I consulted for once, and they said, oh, they would go buy it. By the time they purchased the watering can, they purchased 3. All those 3 were a waste. We ended up using buckets to water the nursery, using buckets and balers to water the nursery. And this is what happened. Though it was plastic, but the mouth was not fit with the cover, that the nozzle that was purchased for it. So ensure you test these things. If you're purchasing plastic mulch also, please, the fact that it is cheap does not mean it is okay. You may end up buying a plastic mulch that will just melt by the time you install it on your field. From experience, we have seen this. So you want to avoid and purchase quality materials from quality stores in quality locations. So, yes, if you're not doing plastic mulch, um, like I said, you start your harvesting week 3 after transplanting, and then that should take you another 3-4 weeks. So at week 7, and of course, once you harvest twice, you only need one more time to weed. Then you start harvesting. So just 3 weeding regimes. Just 3 weeding regimes. And this is what takes in the more cost in any farming endeavor. Weeding carries cost. So to weed a plot of land, yes, weeding a plot of land. I know in Lagos and Ibadan, they collect about 20-25. That's if it's a known person. If it's not a known person, they charge as high as 30,000 to weed a plant, to weed a plot of land. Anyone, whether it's even just to cut grass, weeding, that's 30,000 per plot. And you want to weed thrice, that's 30,000 naira. That's 90,000 naira, weeding 3 times. So you can see, this is why I like doing naira and kobo. For plastic mulch, it's about 100K for 300 meters by 2 meters by 1.5 meter by 300 meters. Season also affects the price of mulch, of the plastic mulch. Now, weeding is costing you 90,000 naira. So when you compare the prices, you can see it's 10,000 over a long period is negligible. So this is why doing the naira and kobo matters a lot before you venture into this. So you see what works best for you. So 90K for weeding for the season for a plot of land. Watering can, we've said 60,000 at 12,000 for 5 watering cans. Yes, you can reuse the mulching film. Yes. But depending on use, you can use let me see. I believe you can use it 3 to 4 times, depending on use. It's much more profitable and environmental friendly. So you can reuse it 3 to 4 times. So that's where it's of more advantage if you can use that. If there's no light, what is the liter of water needed if you are using irrigation? Okay. I haven't thought about that sincerely. I haven't thought about that. But it's something that also needs to be factored in because but let's assume you're pumping um a 2000 liter tank. Let's assume you're pumping a 2000 liter tank. To pump a 2000 liter tank would take about 45 minutes. So you're using about um 3 to 5 liters of fuel. If we can estimate the price from that angle, your fuel at let's use a high range of 900 per liter. So at 5 liters, good. 900 by 5 liters, that's 4,500. That 2,000 liters would water the whole plot at a go, and you need to refuel it. So let's say fuel for pumping water, say 5,000. I love this class. Madam Esther, I love this community. We are very practical, sincerely. This money done the much, oh. You see why home garden using our pots is very, very necessary for everyone to have this. At the same time, not everyone can have it because not everybody would be able to do this. And that's why I say the market exists if you venture into tomato production, into pepper production, into vegetable production. Your market exists because every blessed day people consume these vegetables. So you water 3 times in a week. So 5,000 by 3 times in a week over a 10-week period. That's 15,000 per week. Over a 10-week period, that's 150,000. So we put 150,000 for irrigation. So let's take a review so far of the prices of the cost. 50K filters that will prevent clogging. That's along the two. That's in the 200K for the irrigation materials. The drip, all the irrigation materials, the nozzle, the drip kits, everything, along with it, 200K. If the weather is really hot, so you are watering every other day. You water on Monday, on Wednesday, on Friday, on Sunday. So let's assume you water 4 times a week. 4 times a week at 5,000 per one, that's 20,000. For a period of 10 weeks, irrigation, that's 200,000 naira. So for land rentage, we said 50K. For seed, 30,000. Labor costs, labor costs for land preparation, bedding, for the ridge formation, we came out to 48,000. Irrigation, 200,000. Plastic mulch installation. Oh, yes, so please. I've let it grow. Pa. By the time you're harvesting your tomato, you use it to cook. You dice the tomato and enjoy yourself with it. Oh boy.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Um, I want to ask the best practice on so is it okay to plant two lines per ridge or a single file per ridge? What's your advice on that?
It depends on the length or the width of the ridge. If you look at the picture I sent of the mulch film, you will see each of these ridges is a little above 1 meter in width. So you can have two. But if it is less than 1 meter, if you have like 0.8, 0.7, the spacing may be too close. You may now be having 0.5 spacing, 0.4 spacing. So, but if you can have, if it's a little, it's 1 meter width or more than 1 meter, you can have two rows on one ridge. You can have two rows on one ridge.
At what spacing to each other?
When I do two rows on a ridge, I put the spacing to be 50 by 75.
Okay. You can also scatter the length.
Oh, yeah,
A kind
sure.
of zigzag.
Not zigzag,
But if
not zigzag. They're going to be the ones that will be um, intra-row and inter-row. The inter-row spacing will be zero point 0.5, but the intra-row spacing will be 0.75.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. Just like this. I said just like maize planting.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, sir. But is there any effect on wind on a kind of during the dry season, the one we have a very
On the
high
kind of
heat. In case of hot condition, don't you think the ventilation within the plants will affect the plants?
that's that's why that spacing would be used. That's why that spacing would be used. It works. That's why I said when that's I've used it and it worked, and the yield was not affected negatively. Let me add that. Okay, so we have budgeted 50K for land, 30K for seed, and then we said for mulching, um, 100,000 for the mulching film. And if you're going to use weeding, it's going to be at 90,000 all through the period. Labor cost, we've said 48,000. Yes, good. Thank you for this picture. So this is what I said. You can take um, a peg or a bamboo stick on extreme ends, and then you run a cable right through, and then you use the rope to stake the plants to each of the cable. Thank you for putting this up on the group. And then we said irrigation 200. So if you're pumping and all, that irrigation will increase from 200 to 260. And then of course you're gonna have miscellaneous. You want to buy more biofertilizer. It's not costed for biofertilizer. biofertilizer, biopesticide. So let's assume you spend 50,000 on all those. So 50K plus 30K, that's 80K, plus 100K, that's 180K, plus 48K, that's 228,000, plus 260,000 on irrigation, that's 488,000, plus 50,000 on your biofertilizer and biopesticides, that's 530,000. Ladies and gentlemen, for now we have 530,000 naira budget for one plot of land. We have not considered whether you're going to pay salary to your workers or all whatnot. So you have 530K. Now let's see. Okay, this is it in buckets. This one has 5 fruits. Let me see if I can get the other one that has 7 fruits. Okay, so you have in the bucket, you have on the field. And if you zoom in, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see the size. Me, I know the pad budget too. You can see the size. It's not as big as your cobra fruit that is big as my head. But the advantage is in the number of fruits per plant. So look at this number of fruits. This is just on one plant. This is 8 down. I'm looking at the one on the field. If you zoom in, the one on top has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fruits per cluster. The one down also has 8 fruits per cluster. So on this plant alone, by the time you do this first harvest, this is 16 fruits. And so how much, if you use this plant to generate, that's why the question is coming in. What is the population for one plot? This is something by now we must all be versed in. Oh, no problem, please. Go ahead, no problem. No problem. Can leave, sir. As we all know, it's the audio stream is being recorded and we can have access to this later on. How many plots give you an acre? Let me help out. How many plots give you an acre? 6 plots give you an acre. So if
Six or eight.
in Nigeria is usually, let's take it as 6.
Okay.
Let's take it as 6. So in 1 acre, if you have 50 meters by 50 meters, you should be able to have 5,000 plants. So if you divide 5,000 by 6, that should give you 800 plants. So let's say you have 1,000 plants in one plot. So you have 1,000 plants in one plot of land, and then one plant gives you 16 fruits. So by the time you sell these fruits, how much do you think you will sell these fruits at a go? These 16 fruits, if you harvest them, how much do you think you will sell each of these 16 fruits? I don't want to use kg now. I can use if 50 kg is going for 10,000 or whatever. I can go straight and just tell you, you can get 50 kg from this, and then 10,000 by 50 kg will give you X amount. But I want us to do it together. I want us to see this. So let's assume this picture on the field is your field. and then you have harvested 16 of these fruits at a go, how much will you sell? Anybody, how much will you sell these 16 fruits? 5 of these fruits will sell for 400 in some places, it will sell for 300 in some places. So you have, that is about 2,000. Depends on the time of the year. So let's take at 2,000 naira, and that's from one plant. So you have 1,000 plants. Let's assume from 1,000 plants, only 800 of them give you this number of fruits. So 800 times 2,000 gives how much?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I think there's a mistake.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. You said if 5 is 300. Are you with me, sir? If
Yes.
5 is 300, then
Yes.
16 should be, say, 900, sir. That's 5 divided by 16. That should be, we should have about 3 point something. So let's say we
3.
have, so 3 times 300 is 900, not 2,000, sir.
900. Yes. Okay. You know, somebody has said it depends on time of the year. So in some places it will go for 2K. Now let's use lower limit to make the calculation for the revenue. All right. So
Okay, sir.
we have
Hello, sir.
900. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Please, according to calculation we've been doing since morning, I think we are calculating for irrigation farming, if I'm not mistaken, because irrigation expenses is part of what we have calculated. So at that time, we used to have a high cost of tomato than this time. So let us consider that one as well. It cannot go for
Yes.
that 900 naira at
I
that
want us to go for
irrigation time.
I intentionally allow these two. That's why I've been aligning inputs. The reason I want, when it comes to costing, I go for the higher digits. When it comes to revenue, I go for the lower limits because, like I said, I like to limit expectations so that when you exceed your limit, you're good to go rather than um, have this high expectation and at the end of the day there is a fall. That's why you can see the range is much from 2,000 to 900. So let's stick with that 900 and then you will see what we are driving at. So at 900 and you have 1,000 plants, but we are saying out of that 1,000 plants, only 800 are fruiting and fruiting well. So, and you are selling per plant 900 naira from one harvest. So 900 times 800 naira, that gives you 720K. Now, of course, you won't have the same quantity of harvest at all times. So from the first harvest, second harvest, third harvest, you have like a straight line, and then it goes up by your fourth, fifth harvest before it comes down. But let's assume instead of 16 fruits, what you have is now 10 fruits for the remaining set of harvest. And so you sell at 600 naira. At 600 naira, and still only 800 fruits 800 plants. So 800 by 600 will be 480,000. And so, and then you harvest over a period of 8 times. That's 3.8 plus the 720. Let's even assume you harvested 8 times all through. That's 3.8. And then we want to increase the cost. We say from 930. Let's still add another miscellaneous and make it 600. Because you want to carry, you go to the market, you have to buy this, you want to we didn't factor in cost of basket for harvesting or for the plastic crates for harvesting. So we increase the price. Like I said, we didn't factor in salary yet. So if we had another 100K to that 530, and then we have 630K, we have a gross of 3.8, and then the expenses of 630. So if we remove that 630 and we say let's even increase it again, let's add yeah, Kemi came to visit me. I gave them this thing. My worker, he says when he was coming, the child, the headache, you added this thing, it increases your cost to maybe 700K. And you remove 700 from 3.8, you still have 3.1. Let's assume you give a bonus, you have 5 people working for you on that one plot. You give each of them a bonus of 20K. You still have 3M. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's these few points of mine I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you that tomato farming is profitable to go in your life. Thank you very, very much. With that, I come to the conclusion of the Tomato Masterclass and welcome you that it's time we overcome the scarcity of tomato in our lives in Nigeria and improve our livelihood and improve our income and have a better life and have a better time for everybody. Say tomato.
Say
Say
abundance.
abundance.
Madam Esther, I hand over
Abundance.
to you.
Say tomato.
Tomato.
Say
Thank you
abundance.
very much. Thank you very much, Dominic. What's going to begin is how much we people will be so taking time to everyone to as much as possible grow in such time possible. So I do imagine that we'll go back to the master classes. I mean, we'll be shocked at how much, you know. Olumide, thank you very, very much. A round of applause, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to think that this is you are so graciously going to stick with us all to until we begin to bring in the harvest. Thank you.
Oh,
God bless you. And to also think that you are also going to continue to be a blessing to us from the upper week, with the Pepe Masterclass. We are so tremendously blessed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me just end by saying that stop with that particular thank you because words can begin to express,
Which pepper are we expecting? Which pepper in particular?
Rodo,
Rodo
habanero.
Pepe. Yeah.
Okay, Nigerian make too.
Yes.
Okay,
Not hybrid.
all
That's
right.
what they do.
Thank
They
you.
improve local varieties.
I agree.
So that's what we are doing. So maybe we can just take 1 or 2 or 3 questions. I mean, we've already exceeded the time, and because this is the last masterclass, There may be just one or two or three questions we'll be able to take, because it's important to take at least a few questions. So please, is there anyone very quickly who would like to
Okay.
ask it?
Yes. Very quickly. This mulching film that we are talking about, don't
Yes.
they have a disadvantage? Because I see a situation where you are farming on the ground on open field, and then as the weeds are growing, you are weeding them and you are allowing them to rot back into the ground. And if we are applying all these other technologies or agronomy practices that are on the dashboard, production of or applying of lactic acid bacteria or all those nitrogen fixing bacteria, won't the mulching bag be a disadvantage? Thank you.
No, it won't. If you look at the picture of the mulching film, the high. Let me see if I can get you a close-up picture. Okay, look at this picture I've gotten from a vendor. Um, you will see that there is enough space to allow for microorganisms to operate and carry out their activities. It's just that those other surfaces where the weeds grow and overcome the plants that are covered by the plastic mulch. If you look at this close-up picture of it, so it does not negatively impact your plant and all other activities you need to go on.
Okay.
Hello, good
Thank
evening,
you.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So I just want to ask for your advice that if I'm picking up my farm, is it always good to leave maybe bush around my farm before, so anybody passing by will not notice? As in, I don't know if you keep on seeing every farmer, you wouldn't know that there's a farm around. So is that also advisable? I should just clear up all the bush and do what I need to do. I don't know if
What
you
I
understand
what
my question.
what I usually encourage is give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So around your plant, have what you call border rows. You can plant maize around it. You can also plant tomato, but you will know that these 3 rows of tomato, because somebody who will enter into the middle of the farm after bypassing those 3 rows, then that's what Yoruba will call alasheju. So you will know that these first 3 rows, uh, they are sacrificing it to all those who want to trespass. But allowing those forests to remain, except you will not create a clear path, you will be reducing the space you need for your farm. That's just it. So you want to create a 50-50 chance. Okay, there might actually be no pilfering, and then at the end of the day, those border rules becomes benefits to you. But whether or not whatever happens, you still have a win-win situation. But what I usually do is just avoid any bush and weeds around. They are, if it's not rodents. I once did okra, and believe you me, I got to the field one day, and in the name of not wanting to clear that bush to leave security, whatever, I saw these rodents having family meeting on my okra. I was looking at them. To even throw anything at them was because I was just laughing. You could see about 6 of them just wagging their tails like, yeah, lágbájá wá jẹ oúnjẹ relay you. It's so my advice is do a border rule that will serve as a border from the main field.
Wow, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. One final question,
Yes,
and then we
please.
can have others post their questions on the group because of
All
time. Okay, maybe we'll just leave that.
right.
For any other questions, you can just post it on the group. So we'll
So
be calling it an evening now. Hello.
what the program
Okay.
in Lorry? I hope I was the program in Lorry.
Oh, did it hold?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
We are able
Oh,
to have a few
okay.
hours at dance, and our Quora coordinator did justice
Awesome.
because this meeting was just to create awareness,
Awesome.
and
Oh,
we did told them revolution does not start en mass. It has to be gradual. Our coordinator was not discouraged with the turnout because even those that came, they appreciated the initiative of agro ears. So
Fantastic.
thanks to
Fantastic.
my able coordinator, Pastor Bosede Adeyema, a wonderful presentation.
Thank you,
So
madam.
end up
thank you
in
so much.
their seminar. He said he has paid enormous money to go and learn organic at Jos, but when he saw our seminar and he came to attend, he was highly, he signed up immediately. He's also in the class now, the purple. So
Wow.
long live Agro Hill. This is Dr. Bigani Akorede Zakaria Akoricom team. So we appreciate
Thank you.
the initiative. God bless.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
That's
much, sir.
very intuitive.
Round of applause. Thank you. These first steps are the greatest, the most important steps. Like they say, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step, and the first few steps are usually need the greatest energy, and will eventually, gather and give us the momentum we need. So it's a very big deal. Thank you so much, sir. Uh,
Thank you.
Committees, thank you. We are very grateful. Thank you for the labor of love. This early stages is when it means the most, really. We are so grateful. More grace to your elbows and all of us in our different spaces. Thank you for all that you are doing. Okay. Um. So I think for the sake of time now, we can call it an evening. So next week, Saturday, next week will actually be a break while we take a step back, take a deep breath, and gather for momentum for upper week, which is this start of the tomato masterclass. As much as possible, depending on how long it will take for the tomato masterclass. I haven't seen, or I don't know yet, Mr. Olumide's schedule for that. But the intention is to have the masterclasses come in one after
You are
another,
saying
as we
tomato
did here.
again, no? Isn't it supposed to
So,
be pepper?
yes, to have other crops and then livestock coming one after the other, until we start the cluster farm in January. Like I mentioned earlier, the program will be out during the week. We expect to start land preparation on January 20, so that it will give us enough time to have nursery in February and then be able to start our massive tomato harvest, in time to serve as an intervention to preempt next year's scarcity. That's the dream. And by God's grace, as we show up every day to make it happen, God will, crown it all of our efforts with resounding success in Jesus' name. So that program, and so next Saturday, we'll give you announcement if we would have a meeting to at least gather to encourage one another and see how far we have gone with our compost, how to ask any questions concerning the seeds we are planting or the seeds we have sown. Although, of course, the charts are there. We can send our pictures, post our questions, and keep on interacting either way. So thank you very much, everyone. We can, unmute now and just wish ourselves a wonderful,
Thank you.
lovely night.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody. Happy
Good
night
night.
rest and sweet dreams.
So
So, James,
little
thank you.
stay
Stay
abundant.
Stay
abundant.
Thank you, Mr.
abundance.
Alomini, again. God bless you. Mm, okay. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Yeah,
thank
good
you.
night, everybody.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
doctor. Good
Yeah.
night.